Human hired an alien widow as a cook, but her baby's eyes awakened something he had buried. The Outpost's dining hall smelled faintly of recycled air and the lingering tang of metal. Captain Rylan Voss leaned against the cold bulkhead, watching as the shuttle doors hissed open. She stepped through with a quiet grace that seemed almost unnatural. The new hire, an alien widow named Kaela, carried a small bundle swaddled in iridescent cloth, her large, opalescent eyes glancing nervously toward him. "I hope I'm not late," Kaela said, her voice soft but steady, her accent lilting in the way only her species could manage. "I brought my child. I hope that isn't a problem." Rylan's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Alien infants were rare, yes, but dangerous if left unmonitored. He forced a smile. "As long as she doesn't wander off, it's fine. The kitchen's on the lower level." The baby yawned, revealing two tiny luminous teeth that glowed faintly in the dim light. Something about her gaze made Rylan flinch. It was a look so piercing, so full of knowing, that it stirred a memory he had buried deep beneath layers of duty and grief. He followed Kaela to the galley. The walls gleamed with polished chrome, but she made it feel alive as soon as she unpacked her utensils. Her movements were meticulous, almost ceremonial, yet there was warmth in the way she hummed a lullaby to her child. Rylan tried to focus on the menu she presented. Synthesized protein stews, fermented nebula grains, and a delicate spice blend he had never encountered. "You've never eaten anything like this?" she asked, tilting her head. Her gaze lingered on him with an intensity he found both unnerving and magnetic. "Not in a long time," he said, forcing casualness. "I lost my appetite for exotic foods years ago." Kaela's eyes softened, but the baby wriggled in her arms, staring straight at him with those luminous, unblinking orbs. And in that moment, something long suppressed within Rylan clawed its way to the surface. A memory of a daughter he had lost, torn from him during the planetary raid 5 years ago. Her eyes, just like this child's, had haunted his dreams for years, and now, in the dim light of this galley, they were alive again. He cleared his throat and busied himself with inventory checks, though he could feel Kaela watching him, sensing the storm beneath his calm exterior. Over the next few days, the rhythms of the outpost began to shift. The smell of Kaela's cooking filled the corridors, warm and tantalizing, and even the gruff mechanics found themselves lingering near the galley after their shifts. But it was the baby, small, silent, and piercing in her gaze, that drew Rylan's attention most. One evening, he found himself in the galley alone with her. Kaela had stepped out to gather supplies, leaving the baby swaddled in a basket. He approached cautiously, compelled by something he could not name. The infant's eyes followed him with unnerving awareness, and his hand shook as he reached out to touch the tiny fingers curling around the soft fabric. "Rylan!" Kaela's voice startled him. She had returned quietly, standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. I wanted to make sure she's safe," he said, straightening abruptly. Kaela's gaze softened. "She senses things," she said cryptically. "Sometimes she sees the shadows of the past." Rylan froze. That was exactly it. For a moment, he allowed himself to remember. The chaos of the raid, the fire, the screams, and the cold emptiness when his daughter was taken. He had buried the memory, telling himself it was safer that way. But this child, this tiny alien widow's daughter, awakened it. Days turned into weeks, and the baby's presence was a quiet storm around Rylan. He found himself lingering in the galley long after meals, drawn to the luminous eyes that seemed to see past the walls, past the shields, past even his own defenses. Kaela noticed the change, but she did not comment, letting him confront his own buried grief in his own way. One night, after the outpost had gone quiet, he found Kaela nursing the baby beneath the soft glow of the hydrolamps. "She reminds me of someone," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. "Someone I lost." Kaela nodded, understanding more than he expected. "She can awaken what lies hidden," she said. "But she also brings healing. You must decide whether to face it or continue hiding." The baby stirred, raising tiny hands toward Rylan, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that stole his breath. In that moment, the years of grief, the weight of guilt, and the bitterness he had carried melted away. He saw not just the child, but the possibility of hope, of a second chance, even if not with the daughter he had lost, then through someone new, innocent and unjudging. Rylan knelt slowly, letting the infant crawl into his arms. She looked up at him with unwavering trust, and something inside him, something long thought dead, awoke. Tears came unbidden, sliding down his face as he held the tiny being close. Kaela watched silently, a quiet smile playing on her lips, understanding that the bond forming before her eyes was not hers to interfere with, only to witness. "Her name?" he asked finally, still holding her. "Lyra," Kaela said softly. "After the stars." "Lyra," he repeated, tasting the name like a promise. I'll protect her." Kaela nodded, a small weight lifting from her shoulders. In that shared silence, a fragile but undeniable family began to take shape. A human, an alien widow, and a child whose eyes held the cosmos, and the power to awaken what had long been buried. For the first time in years, Rylan felt something he had not dared to feel: hope. And as Lyra cooed and reached for him again, he realized that some losses never truly left, but new beginnings could grow even from the ashes of the past. The outpost's lights hummed quietly, the night outside vast and silent, yet inside, the warmth of an unlikely family glowed brighter than any star he had ever known.